Hi, my name's Lisa. I'm a speech and language therapist and I specialise in treating voice disorders in adults and children. The idea of this video is to give you some detailed information on good voice habits and voice care to keep your voice really healthy. Particularly if you're what we call a professional voice user, so you might be a teacher, or you might give a lot of presentations throughout your working life, or you just might be quite chatty. These top tips will just really help keep your voice in good health. And really, we need to think about our voice really like any other part of our body. It likes being well looked after, having the right conditions, and it also likes a little bit of exercise and a warm up too. So I'm going to go through the following 5 top tips. There is a shorter version as well of this video if you don't have time to listen to this one. So my first top tip is hydration. Your voice needs to be really well hydrated to work as optimally as possible. So 6 to 8 glasses of water a day is advised. And the reason for this is that the tissues inside our throat and our voice box are quite delicate, and they also like to be nice and hydrated because they like to work very well. And your voice box, basically, your voice, is 2 muscles suspended across the top of your airway in your throat, and you'll feel the voice box structure here. And your voice is made by these 2 voice muscles vibrating together in this kind of wave-like way, and they like to move very symmetrically and very evenly. If your body isn't well hydrated, they can be a little bit sticky along the edge and they might be a bit dry, and they do not like working in those conditions. So if you keep your body well hydrated, your vocal cords can move in the most efficient and healthy ways possible. My second top tip is steam inhalation. So like I've just said for drinking water and keeping well hydrated, steam inhalation helps to get hydration directly onto the surface of the vocal cord. So it's kind of like a quick fix if your voice is feeling quite dry, as well as drinking water. It will help get hydration directly into that area. Professional singers and actors will swear by this method because it's a really effective way of keeping the voice really supple and healthy. You don't need a special steam inhalation machine. You don't always need to have a bowl of water with a towel over your head to do the steam inhalation. You can do it simply in the shower, in the bath, over a hot drink. And the idea is that you inhale the steam, and that steam will go into your mouth, into your nose if you're breathing through your nose. Particularly if the steam is quite hot, that's a good idea to breathe in through your nose. And it will go in through your throat and into your voice box and just help keep your voice nicely hydrated. Similarly, if you are either working or at home in an environment that's quite drying, you might have building works nearby with a lot of dust in the air, or with wearing a face mask, it can make the air very dry that we're breathing in. All of these things can really dry out the voice. So by doing steam inhalation at least once a day, or any opportunity that you can, it will really help keep your voice as healthy as possible. My top tip number 3 is managing any possible signs of reflux. So reflux is the contents of the stomach where they can come out of the stomach and travel up the food pipe, and sometimes they can go into the back of the throat and even into the voice box, and they can play havoc with the voice. So by avoiding possible triggers of acid reflux, we can help avoid having that and avoid any possible impact on the voice. So things like not eating too close to going to bed, ideally leaving 2 hours between meals and sleeping. And also when you're sleeping, not sleeping completely flat, just slightly propped up so that any contents of the stomach can stay in the stomach and not travel up into the food pipe and into the throat. Also, just being mindful of the kind of foods that you eat. So overly spicy foods or foods that produce a lot of acid, such as citrus fruits and tomatoes, can cause a lot of acid and can cause irritation and reflux. Also, just taking sips of water as well throughout the day can just help to avoid having that reflux. So it'll be really helpful for your voice. My top tip number 4 is one I'm not going to spend too much time on because it's a difficult one, but smoking. Smoking is not great for your voice. It basically dries out all of the tissues. It's obviously a chemical that you're breathing into your into your body. It can affect your lungs, it can affect the lining of your throat and voice box, and many different other effects for your mouth as well. If you are trying to give up, or you're interested in maybe finding out some information about how to, then the NHS website Smoke Free has some more information. Really is ideal if you do smoke, that you do try and stop. I know it's not easy, but it will really be beneficial for your voice. The other top tip I've talked about is number 5, is your posture. So our posture and how we stand and how we move can really have a big impact on our voice. When we're talking and using our voice, what we want to be thinking of is keeping our body in the most released and open way. So for example, I'm going to show you a position that your voice really does not like. Okay. So imagine you're sitting at your computer, or you're leaning in to talk to a friend about a really interesting conversation, and you do this. Okay, hopefully you can see that. So basically you're stretching your neck forward beyond your body, and you're putting your throat under a lot of stress. You're basically stretching it forward. Your voice box is in that space, and you're basically flattening that space so that the voice can't operate. And again, coming back to that idea, as I said, about the vocal cords needing to move in this kind of movement, if there's any squash or compression of the voice box, they just can't move and vibrate in a very easy way. So the rule really to combat that is to try and always make sure that you take your body with your head. So if you are working at a computer, making sure as well, if you're at a computer with a separate monitor, making sure the monitor's at the same height as your eye level, but bringing your body with your head forward. Can you see that? So that the throat doesn't get squashed at all. It can stay as a nice open pipe and move forward and backwards very easily. It's the same with stress. The effects of stress can be a nightmare, can't they, on the body? It can also actually cause acid reflux, as I've just mentioned, because you can get overproduction of acid from the effects of stress. But if you have a lot of tension in the shoulder area, and you feel that you hold your shoulders very tightly, or you might not be as extreme as that, but you just feel a lot of tension in the neck area, that can really impact your voice, because again, you're closing off that space in your throat where your voice wants to move quite freely. Just in addition, so they're my 5 top tips. A couple of other tips as well that I talk about a lot in clinic as kind of things like we call vocal hygiene, are things like an obvious one, voice rest. Now, voice rest won't necessarily rehabilitate your voice if there's an underlying difficulty there, but it's a common sense go-to thing to do if your voice isn't working very well, to stop talking, because by the very effect of not talking, you're no longer moving your vocal cords, and they can rest. So if you've had a really busy day at work, if you've had a stressful day at work or a stressful day at home, again, there's going to be that squeeze in your throat. So actually by resting your voice, you will just take off pressure there. So if you really are noticing some difficulties with your voice, or you've had a day when you've just done a lot of talking, even you might not even feel it in your voice, it might be just mindful just to have some time by yourself, just so that you can rest that part of the body. In the same way that if you've been walking all day and you've been on your feet, having a sit down will mean that the pressure's taking off your feet. It's exactly the same idea. You might also want to think about doing a kind of vocal warm-up exercise. Now, this is something I would definitely recommend you getting some advice from a professional to guide you through it. But it might be something as an idea if you are using your voice a lot and you're feeling, that maybe you'd like some ways of keeping your voice healthy. There's a lot of ideas out there, because in the same way that you wouldn't expect to go and run a marathon without stretching your body, your voice is really no different. Your voice is essentially, as I've explained, 2 muscles working within your voice box, so they really benefit from having a little bit of a stretch. So that's kind of my main information that I wanted to give you in this video of some top tips for looking after your voice. If you are interested in even more information, some more explanations, then I really recommend you going to the British Voice Association website. There's lots of free information there on a kind of whole range of things that can happen to your voice, and general tips of how to keep your voice really healthy. So it's a really good source of information. Secondly, if you're really interested in exploring your posture a little bit more, if you feel that you have the effects of stress in your body, or maybe over time your posture you notice has become quite poor, it's really important that you try and keep your body in a good position, and it could be something you can work on really at any age. If you are interested in looking into that a little bit more, then I do some training with a school called Mindfulness in Motion. There's the name. We're based in southwest London. There is a website if you want to find out some more information. There is some more information around the content of these videos on that website as well, so you can go there for that information too. And the website is www.mim.training. So that's a place where you can go to get a little bit more information on posture and how that can help keep your voice healthy. As I mentioned at the beginning, if you are having any concerns about your voice, or any concerns for your family members or friends, if your voice is sounding croaky, or if it's quite breathy, or you just feel that your voice just gives out on you, go to your GP, ask for them to consider maybe referring you to a voice clinic, and they can have a bit more of a detailed look and give you some more advice. That's the end of the video. I hope you found it helpful, and I'm sure I'll make some more videos in the future. Stay well, keep open and released as much as you can, and your voice will really thank you for it. Thanks very much for listening. Bye for now.